So you want to know how this coach made $247,000 in a week with a small email list? I'm going to give you 3 different coaches, 3 different launches. Some had lists of 40,000, some had lists as small as 2,000. So which one do you think performed the best? List A generated 167,000, list B generated around 10,000, and list C generated 247K. So the answer might surprise you. I'll cut right through the BS. Like, you know which one it is, right? The one with the least amount of money was the bigger list. But why? Like, why did someone with 40,000 people did so much worse than everyone else who had tiny lists? Well, I'm gonna help you figure this out. Well, in this video today, I'm gonna make it really clear why you don't need a massive list in order to have a massive payday with your next launch, your coaching program, or anything else you want to sell with your email list. This is how some of my clients like Colin pulled off that 247K. He had 3,000 people, by the way, no affiliates on his email list. Or people like Rebecca, who more than doubled her past results, and she did over 150K on her launch. 2,000 people on her list, about 800 people inside of a Facebook group. And there's 3 core principles why they could pull this off. The first is that they asked for permission. The second is that it had the right offer to the right people. The third one is using infrequent offers with the right high ticket economics. Fancy word for saying like, how can we make 3,000 people 6 figures in revenue, more than 6 figures? And maybe you've been disappointed with like past results with like whatever you're trying to launch, like you can use this video to course correct the next time and ask yourself like, am I following these 3 core things? And this is the first big mistake I made. So story time, a little bit embarrassing. I thought I had like a multi 6-figure, like 7-figure launch basically on my hands. 40,000 people. This person was an established speaker that had so much proof and testimonials. They were respected authority in their industry. I wrote this launch and less than $10,000 was generated. It was a little disappointing for this person. And one of the reasons why, looking back, there's actually many reasons I'll walk you through, but the first one is like, what do you think is more persuasive? When you present a problem and you ask, hey, would you want to learn more about this? And the person raises their hand and says yes. Or if you just flat out give some Shark Tank pitch and get them just like to accept it or not. It's the former, right? Like we typically respond better when we give people permission in order to do something. This isn't for launches, this is like for basic lead gen as well. Like I'm trying to use a 2-step post on a Facebook group. I try to like do this little bait and then I get people into my Facebook group. I'll message them in the chat and then like, here's my Facebook group. Here's what I would do. I would just be like, here's the link to join. And you know what happened? No one joined. But you want to know the next time I rolled through and I said, hey, here's all the benefits of the group. Do you want to go join it? Yes or no? It's like, you wait for a response. That just significantly improved response. And I've figured this out. Whether it's like you just ask for permission or it's a waitlist, or you say like, hey, you're on this webinar, like, do you want to learn more? Yes. Or maybe it's just a little description down below of the footer of the email says, do you want to receive less emails during this time? And it says yes. Well, I've just found these little permission levers just like dramatically improve response rate on email. And if I could turn back time, I would have gone to this client, I would have said like, we're not rushing this. If this is a new offer, we are going to send a small batch to people who are actually interested in this and see what works rather than just blasting it to the whole list. And that's the thing, blasting it to the whole list. Probably not a good idea, but how do you get your message out to lots of people and not just like to 30 or 50 people? Well, you need the right offer in front of the right people. So like silly question here, but like what do you think is more powerful? If you were to give your message to 10 highly qualified people who are desperate for your solution, or like 500 people who vaguely need your solution but don't really have a problem, I would take the 10 people any single day. I'm sure you would too. And this is a problem I had with this big 40,000 person list. The problem was that we just niched down too much, too specific. And because this list had been built from like ads and like on stage and different lead magnets, there was a bunch of different avatars on this list. And when we made this offer specific to social media managers, yeah, that's why it kind of fell on its face. Everything else, like Colin, his message was to coaches and experts who've been embarrassingly burned before by running a bombed webinar. And his solution was, don't just talk about you, do this thing differently. And that message alone was enough to build the list and sell to them. Or there was Rebecca, who helped business people figure out how do you manifest what you really want. You need to get into the right frequency. And to do that, it's kind of scary. You kind of need some help and some guidance and a support group. And that's what this group helps. Both were perfect message market match. With the other people, the 40,000 person list, too many people, too specific of a problem, it's probably why it didn't sell. So long story short, it's all about who comes onto the list. And with your content, with everything else that you use to attract people onto your list, if you're solving the problem that comes before your offer, like probably a good idea that you then sell those people the next step. Not like you spoke on a webinar stage 3 years ago about some completely different topic and hoping that they're gonna buy a social media manager offer on this side. Probably not gonna work. All right, and this third and final part is making infrequent offers because you know your numbers, like using the right economics. So the reason why I loved doing these big infrequent launches for clients is because one, like they've already got all the proof and stuff, but they've got the power of urgency and scarcity, like deadline, limited spots in order to sell their coaching programs. And it was believable too, like if you don't come in this cohort, we're not gonna be ready for the next 5 months, so get in. And it made asking for 5K so much easier because when you have limited spots and you have more calls than there are spots, it's just such an easier sell. And Cole and Rebecca, they had other ways of monetizing, but for them, 2 or 3 launches a year, get a bunch of people on the sales call, sell them from like $7,000 to $10,000, and you're looking at like between 150 and 250K. Like it's not bad for a week's work because they know the economics work. Fancy way of just saying like they know the numbers work. Like if you get 20 people on a call, and you can close like 40% of them, that's a pretty good payday, right? And that's how this client, at the start of the video, like I said, had a small list. How did he actually pull this off? You actually gotta be a good closer. You gotta have good testimonials, good proof, and people know I can trust you where you can like do all these high closes. That's how this all works. You gotta make the economics actually work. Now, if you followed step 1 to 3 of this video, like you're talking to your ideal client, you got the right message, you're using permission in the best way possible, there's still actually the big problem that most people face. How do I get more of the perfect ideal list avatar onto my list? In this video here, it's gonna show you how to create that perfect lead magnet, attract your dream clients, and then all the steps you need to do to nurture them into a high ticket client. And this video is over here. It's my full A to Z video on how to build and monetize a profitable, responsive email list.